We are in the period of the Omer, the days in between Pesach and Shavuot. These days are designated where we commemorate the death of the 24,000 pupils of Rabbi Akiva. It's not for nothing that these days, the time when the Talmidim, the pupils of Rabbi Akiva died, happened to fall in the lead-up to Shavuot. We left Egypt on Pesach, on a journey, 49 days, to receive the Torah at Sinai. The Torah tells us when the Jewish people came to receive the Torah, it says, "Vayis'u mirfidim v'yachanu b'midbar Sinai," that the Jewish people traveled from Refidim, a place, v'yachanu b'midbar Sinai, they encamped in the Sinai desert. And then it continues and it writes, "Vayicham sham neged ahar," and they encamped there opposite the mountain, Mount Sinai, where they're about to receive the Torah. The Kli Yakar points out that at the beginning, the Pasuk writes, "Vayis'u mirifidim v'yachanu," in the plural. In the continuation, it writes, "Vayicham," they encamped in the singular. Explains the Kli Yakar, most certainly, they were a people, they were a plural. However, when it came to receiving the Torah, it writes Vayicha in the singular form to teach us that the Jewish people had to be one, ki ish echad, belev echad, one person, united, all together in order to be able to receive the Torah. Let's understand what's the necessity for achdut, what's the necessity for unity, harmony, the ability to honor, to be kind to each other. Why is that a required necessity in order for us to accept the Torah? As we know, Adam HaRishon, the first man created by Hashem, included within him were all the souls of Klal Yisrael. All the future souls that were ever going to be, the 600,000 souls, and all of their dispersion into all the different people, all the different Jews of today, all those souls were all contained in Adam. They were all one person. This enabled that the Jewish people to be, in essence, as one body. We are one main body, which is just dispersed. In the one body, if a person's hand hurts himself, his foot also feels it. If his shoulder hurts, his leg also. In other words, within the one body, it's one person and every part feels for the other. So too, although we see ourselves possibly as separate physical entities, in essence the Jewish people are all as considered one body as we all were, even physically, in the time of our Adam HaRishon, within that one body. Maybe a bit hard to understand, but this is the real essence. We are all interconnected. Every single Jewish person is interconnected. I, Baruch Hashem, have twins, and I was able to get a certain insight when speculating the way, the interaction and the way they naturally feel for each other shows us that a person, as Jews, we can and we have to be part of one main body. However, again, let's still understand why is this the necessity for Kabbalat HaTorah. it says in the end of Mishlei, what we say on Friday night, in the Eshet Chayil, Rabot banot asu chayil, va'at alit al kulama. Rabot banot asu chayil, many children, asu chayil, they did good things, value things, va'at alit al kulana, and you excelled all of them. The Vilna Gaon writes something in his explanation that the Eshet Chayil is all going on the Torah. He explains that Chayil is a numerical value, the Gematria 48. Chet Yud Lamed 48. Rabot Banot Asu Chayil. Many people together get to the numerical value of Chayil, which resembles the 48 acquisitions of the Torah. Explains the Vilna Gaon as follows. If a person wants to buy an article, let's say you go to the shop and you want to buy a table, the acquisition that the Torah addresses is a person gives over money, and then the seller, with receiving the money, there's a transaction of the ownership of the table to the buyer. There's different ways of acquisitions in the Torah. There's different types of kinyanim, depending on what you're buying, how you're buying it. Sometimes you could do a kinyan by lifting something up, kinyan hagba'ah. You could do a kinyan meshicha by pulling something. There's the kinyan kesef. There's all different acquisitions. But the concept of an acquisition that the Torah allows and gives a way, a means of transferation of ownership is that when a person does this action, then the ba'alut, the ownership is transferred. In other words, it now becomes my table. It belongs to me. Beforehand it belonged to you, now it belongs to me. Now we know, to acquire Torah, the Mishnah in Avot and Perek Vav enumerates 48 ways of acquisition. Says the Gaon, the Torah is a real commodity that we need to acquire, no less than any other physical item that we acquire, with its given ways of acquisition, with its given kinyanim. In order for us to acquire Torah, we need all the 48 acquisitions that the Mishnah writes. We need to learn, we need to be able to have a listening ear, we need to be able to say over something in the name of the other person, we need to be humble. There's so many acquisitions, 48, that are demanded of a person in order to acquire the Torah. Asks the Vilna Gaon, how can we expect of a person to acquire Torah, to become fluent, learned in Torah, when you need to become the owner? You need to make an acquisition, and there's 48 ways of necessary acquisitions in order for you to become the owner. What does Hashem want for us? How is it expected? How is it humanly possible for us to do 48 means of acquisition to get to every tiniest understanding in any area of Torah? Says the Vilna Gaon, a tremendous novelty. He says, Rabot banot asu chayil. When we're learning with other people in group form, we have chavrutot, we're in the Bet HaMidrash, and we speak with other people, and we have rabbanim, we have teachers. Each one can donate his special quality, his trait that he excels in, into the general, the middle pot that holds all these 48 ways of acquisition, and together we can all donate our ma'alot, our good points, our strong points, into the kitty in the middle, and that way I can use somebody else's trait that will help me acquire Torah. When learning with each other in the form a group of chavrutot, speaking together in the atmosphere of a Bet HaMidrash, ensuring that we thrash out, we toil, we work in the Gemara, in the Sugya. That way, working together, a person can acquire Torah. Because each person can donate their quality. Rabbot Banot, through being a group form of Rabbot, many people learning together, Asu Chayil, can reach the Chayil, the 48 Kinyani Torah, and that way acquire Torah. Hence the necessity. Now we can understand the reason why when we come to Kabbalat Torah, we must be one, we must be unified. In order to acquire the Torah, in order to be able to get that Torah, as it says, Ein divrei Torah niknin, ela b'chabura. In order to acquire, niknin, it's only acquired if we are together. If we're working together as a group form, helping out each other. We need that unity in order for us to be able to reach the level of an acquisition in Torah, that we are so longing and yearning and toiling in day and night to be able to grow and climb in our levels of Torah. At this auspicious time, the lead up to Shavuot, the time when we are working, the time that we should be exerting effort in our unity and harmony within each other, showing respect within each other, and that way we can share from the communal kitty of all our traits, our good points, to put them all together in order for us to acquire Torah. Specifically in this time, the pupils of Rabbi Akiva did not show the necessary respect for each other. This being the case, at the time where we're trying to positively work on respect, honor, unity, and they were in the opposite direction, this was specifically the time that unfortunately we lost these great dignitaries, 24,000 pupils of Rabbi Akiva in Torah. It's because at this time we need to be working at enabling that we'll be able to get our acquisitions in Torah on the straight and narrow. We're working for unity, harmony, respect, to value the goodness in our friends. And we should make sure that these days don't pass without us ensuring that we're working on these things. In order to be able to come to Shavuot, where we want to come along and say, Hashem, we want our portion in Torah. And everybody's got a portion in Torah. Everybody's got way, way, way beyond what you can even imagine. If only we would use maybe 10% of our brain capacity and our ability of toiling, utilizing it in Torah, we'd be very, very fortunate and happy people in this world. Anyway, every person was created to toil. As it says in the Pasuk, Adam la'amal yulad, a person was brought in the world to toil. It's up to the individual to decide where he wants to apply the given amount of toil that he needs to do in this world into what area. A person can utilize it in Torah, and a person can utilize it in stacking boxes in the warehouse. It's up to you. The more a person accepts the yoke of Torah, that yoke of toiling in Torah, utilizing it in Torah, the yoke of other things will be taken away from him. Let's ensure that we are on track, that we're going to get to Shavuot, we're going to get there by Yicham Sham, and the singular form, as a unity, all thinking about each other, caring for each other, willing to donate to each other our qualities, and that way we should all be able to merit a kinyan in Torah.